I was working with a marketing team recently, and they were running their entire creative approval process via email. The designer would create the file, they would send it over to their manager. The manager would have some feedback, so they'd email them back the feedback. The designer would create a second version of the file. The manager would then forward that over to the director. The director would have some feedback of their own, and they would send that in a, complete separate thread than the original email. And at the end of it all, nobody really had a clear picture of what the final approved version of those files were. We fixed that with Airtable. Now every single asset that they create has an approval status. Every reviewer in the process gets notified automatically, and nothing ever gets published without confirmed approval. And all of this takes place without sending a single email. Let me show you how it works. So when breaking down the solution, we have to ask ourselves a really important question, and that is, why do creative approvals break down in the first place? And the answer is not necessarily a communications problem, it's actually a systems problem. People are communicating sometimes too much. That's why your email has 100 unread emails that you're dreading to actually open. The problem is that the system for managing that work is not structured in a way that's efficient and streamlined. Email doesn't have a status. You can't click one button and see what the latest update is for a particular asset. There's no way to see where a particular piece of work is in the process without asking. On top of that, version control is a nightmare. You don't know what's the final approved version of any particular asset unless you read through 20 emails to try to get that information. This all gets even worse when there's multiple reviewers in the process, multiple people who have to sign off, and the communication just continues to get more and more fragmented with every single handoff. The result of this all is that things do get published, but they get published without the right approvals, or the approvals take days and weeks longer than they should. So the fix isn't just asking people to communicate better, it's actually building a system that makes communication unnecessary or makes communication automatic. So here's how the approval system is actually implemented and works in real life. So this whole process centers around the assets table. This is a table that represents all of the creative work that we're going to be doing for each of our projects and campaigns. Every single one of these assets has an approval status, from draft to pending review to needs updates to approve. So we always know whenever we click into an asset what the latest update is, where it is in the pipeline. And like I said, each one of these assets links back to a project, and every project is linked to an overarching campaign. So we've got our conference sponsorship and activation project, which follows under the conference sponsorship campaign here. So that campaigns field is actually a lookup from the project's link that I just showed you, so that always gets pulled in automatically. We've also got this creator field, which allows us to assign our asset to an individual, and that's where our notifications and alerts will go when a particular asset reaches the needs update status. The approver field is another way for us to manage who is going to work on this particular asset. They are the person that gets the notification when the creator is done working on the asset. And then we have the actual asset files here as an attachment in this record. So we don't have to leave Airtable to be able to annotate our files, leave comments. We can do that all within Airtable directly. So we can leave comments, like I said, we can draw shapes, we can actually draw on the file itself. And there's even version control. So if I go to, for example, this one, I can see that both version 1 and version 2 of this file exist. And so when I click onto the file, we'll see that version 1 and version 2 show up here as separate versions inside of this file that we can always go back and see what feedback or changes were made between the versions. And then the approver feedback field here. So this is another piece that goes into the approval workflow, so that when we are leaving updates for our creator, the approver can leave some comments that get sent in the notification back to them. All the feedback lives on the record, and there's one point of contact for the creator, the approver, and no more need for all those reply all threads that are cluttering up your inbox right now. All right, let's take a look at one of the key automations in here that makes people actually want to use this system. So we have this asset status change automation that is triggered based on when an asset has an approval status that is updated. There are two flows One is when that status is changed to pending review. And in that flow, we are going to be sending a Slack message directly to the reviewer from the creator. So we'll send the name, the project, the creator, and the type of asset that it is, as well as a link to that asset in Airtable. The second flow is when the approval status is changed to needs update. And that's when we will send this message to the creator, where we have the name, the project, the creator type, and then feedback from the approver or the reviewer that gives them some details on what has been requested for that particular asset, as well as the link to the asset in Airtable. So with this, the reviewer knows exactly what they need to approve, and the creator knows exactly what they need to improve or change. All right, so the last component to this whole system is the asset review interface page. So under our marketing manager interface, we've got an asset review page. And on this page, we have all of the assets grouped by their approval status. We can click into any of these assets, see the name, see the file. Again, we can see the different versions of this file and the annotations. The link to an asset, if we don't need to necessarily include the file itself in this asset record, we can link directly to that file in another system. We can click into any of these assets projects and see the details of the project, the status, the owner, the tasks, the other assets that are linked to this particular project. And then we can also see what type of asset this is, who the creator is, who the approver is, and also any approver feedback that's been left. One more thing, we can approve or request updates on any of these assets with the click of a button. All we need to do is click approve, or we can click the request updates button and send that back. So when we click those buttons, we are changing the status to either pending review or needs updates. And that is what triggers those Slack notifications to be sent from the approver to the creator. The creator can also do the same thing and send the asset to the approver with a click of a button. And that makes this whole process work really smoothly, where they can see all their work, send their communications and notifications with a click of a button, and see the updates all in one system. Every asset has a status, every reviewer gets notified automatically, and nothing goes out and gets published without a confirmed approval. If you want to build this system yourself, the template is in my marketing systems community. The link is below this video in the description. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to build the entire project management layer that you can use to help keep your whole team on track for every single campaign. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.